Hello from the Sassy Spoon Kitchen. Biscuit says hi. She likes to be on camera. Okay, so today we're finally doing the griddled pizza. We were going to do it last night, but we had a thunderstorm of epic proportions. So we're going to do it tonight. This recipe was shown to me by the Griddle guys on YouTube, and it was so amazing to me that I just had to share it with you. It is a 2-ingredient recipe for pizza dough, and I've never heard of such a thing. I was shocked. I tell you, shocked. So I'm going to share it with you, and we'll see how it tastes. I got my griddle for my birthday a few days ago. It's a gas griddle outdoors, and it's made by Blackstone, and it's very powerful, and it's portable, so I plan to take it to the lake and some other outdoor adventures soon. But right now it's in my backyard on my deck, and so this is self-rising flour. And we have some whole milk yogurt here. First thing we're going to do is put in 2 cups of the self-rising flour. Now the original recipe is for 1 cup, but that makes 1 pizza. And my husband and I are going to have 2 different pizzas. So we may end up with more dough than we really want because we're going to make small pizzas. But that's okay. So in 2 cups. It's just really such a simple recipe. It's 1-to-1. So 2 cups of the flour. And of course I have White Lily self-rising flour. I think you can use any kind of self-rising flour you want for this. We're not making biscuits. All right, so there's 2 cups. And then the next thing we're doing is adding, now this recipe does call for Greek yogurt, and this is Indian yogurt. It's not Greek yogurt, but I have taken most of the water out. So that's about 2 cups. And we're just going to stir it up until it's malleable by hand, and then we're going to have a ball of dough. I tell you, this is so interesting. It kind of makes sense though, because yogurt will have sort of a sourdough taste, and you know, we'll have a little bit of a rise because of the self-rising flour. It has, you know, some rising effect to it. Not a lot, but we don't have to let it rise like we would if it had yeast in it. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, we're going to see what happens. When the guys made it, it looked really good. I can tell now I'm probably going to need to add a little more flour to get it into a workable dough. And then you roll it out with a rolling pin. That might be because I'm not using Greek yogurt. I don't know, Greek yogurt's a little thicker. Anyway, I know dough enough to know when it's ready. Move this over here. This over here. Falling Might need to still add a little more. It looks really wet. Starting to look like biscuit dough now. So I'm probably going to have to add more, but I'm going to go ahead and put my flour out here. Move this over just a little bit so that I actually have more room to work directly on it. Make sure you can see it. Yeah, it's still too wet. That's okay. If you're used to working in dough, if you know about the proximity of what pizza dough or bread dough is supposed to feel like, you're going to know when it's right. And I'm just going to turn this a little bit so you can see it before my hands get all yucky. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's still very, very wet. It's getting more dough-like. It's starting to feel good. Sure who biscuit is growling out there. It could be deer or bear. Hopefully it's just a deer or someone walking their dog. Okay, this is getting much more workable. So I'm going to let it rest a few minutes and soak up some of that flour. This is good. I think it will make two nice small pizzas, which is what we want. It's still pretty wet, but I think once it sits and rests for a few minutes, it will soak up some of the flour. So, there she goes. Let's see if I can turn off the camera with my knuckle, and I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to cut a piece of this dough off. It is very soft dough. I will tell you, it's very, very soft. It's definitely not like regular pizza dough, but we'll see what we can do with it. I have a pizza pan go over there. I'm going to get some flour on it. I thought it would stiffen up a little bit more right now. It's still really soft, but that's okay. And make it just a little bigger. I have the lid to my wok, which I'm actually going to use to steam this, and I don't want it to get much bigger than this, so it'll fit underneath that. So I'm going to go outside and get that, and I'm going to get a spatula that fits underneath here. And I'll be right back. Okay. I think we added about another cup of flour to the dough, and it looks like it's going to work now. So I'm still going to be very careful with it. It's still a really wet dough. So when we put it on the griddle, it is probably going to sizzle a bit, and that's okay. I'm putting a little bit of oil on. So if you've ever watched my videos on grilling pizza, it's pretty much the same concept. Now I've got it on medium right now. And what we want to do is form a crust on the bottom. That's going to become the crust on our top. Once we get that crust on the top, when we flip it over, that's when we're going to immediately put our toppings on. So we're going to work fast when it comes to that point. Now, let me talk a little bit about the sauce. This time I'm using Rao's homemade margarita pizza sauce. Pizza sauce. It's really good. I usually get their garlic. They were out of it, but this is good too. And you only use about 2 or 3 big spoonfuls. So I'm just telling you now. I usually put it in one of these containers and keep it warm. I guess I didn't bring an extra one out, so that's all right. We'll just spoon it on and spread it around. Wes's will have a little more than mine will. And we'll wait just a few minutes before we flip it. His will also have mozzarella. I'll put a little bit of mozzarella on mine, but I'm also going to have gorgonzola. Lot like cooking naan, really. So let me just show you what the bottom is looking like. It's almost ready to flip. I don't know if you can see that. And this griddle gives a very consistent heat. It's way better than the grill for consistency of heat. And in just a minute, I'm going to flip it over using this big wide spatula. All right, so now we're going to put this sauce on. If you're going to buy store-bought pizza sauce, this is a really good one. If you want to use a pasta sauce that you already have, or you might have some left over, if you add some, this is a good thing to use as a flat spoon to spread it. If you would add a couple tablespoons of tomato paste, it's a really good idea to make it thicker. So I'm going to add some thick cut mozzarella. Fresh mozzarella is okay if you slice it really thin, but too much moisture in this kind of pizza is not really good. Alright, and there a little more in the middle. And now we just get going with the mushrooms, which are very hot. And they would be. Just spread them around a little bit. I should have had a fork out here. Pepperoni. You could use sausage if you want, and you just pre-cook it. All right. Wow, it's hot. Note to self: bring a fork next time. This burner is off on this side and it's still really hot. Okay. And finally, his onions. I do have a spoon for my onions and I'll just use that. Just spread those onions around. You can see the cheese is already starting to melt on his. And I'll just spread a couple little pieces of cheese around on his. I think this is going to be a really good pizza. All right. Take a little over here. A little bit over. Right. Just a couple pieces of cheese. Always nice when cheese is on top. Okay, now what I'm going to do to kind of make it bake is put the lid to my wok on top. Sorry about that. Pulled my mic off. Wok tops come in different sizes. This just fits mine. Makes a little oven. They do make a device that actually fits. It's called a dome top you can buy for the griddle. And you can buy that. But this fits perfectly for this size pizza. And you can also use a foil pan, you know, like the kind you make for your turkey. You can put that on top. Or if you don't want to use the top, you can use a BTU burner, and you can just burn it, burnish it on top if you want. It doesn't take very long for this to work though. It's a pretty cool way to do it. So let's just check it. Just be a minute. So I'll be right back when this is ready. This is what I call a disaster. My pizza dough fell apart. So we're just going to have like half a pizza. That's okay. And it's going to be a very funny shape. It's all right. I don't need a whole pizza. Oh, well. This is life in the pizza lane. At least I shut it off when I said the bad word. I really only eat about that much anyway. We're going to let this cook, and then I'll flip it over and put the toppings on it. So I'm going to use two kinds of cheese on my very weird pizza. Just a tiny bit of mozzarella. And pretty much gorgonzola. A little bit. So there's some in every bite. Let's get some of these figs around here. I won't be using all of those since I'm only making part of a pizza. And then caramelized onions. Mine came out looking kind of like a naan. Too funny for words. Looks like it's still gonna taste good, which is always nice. I'm gonna make sure and get some caramelized onions in every bite, because they're kind of like my favorite part of this pizza. Although the figs are good. I'm going to turn it down all the way down. I'm going to put just the tiniest little bit more of mozzarella on top. And a little bit of rosemary from the garden, because the rosemary goes really well with this. Alright, I'm going to put the lid back on, and now I'm going to let you go for a minute. Now I'm going to take everything else in the house, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, mine came out perfect. Mine came out perfectly, except it's a little funny looking. So I'm going to dish it up and bring it in the house, and we'll cut it up. Wes is Came out beautifully. So I'll clean this up in a little bit after it cools off. And hope to see you inside. We have the 2 pizzas, one abbreviated one, mine, but it's nice and crunchy. And actually looks pretty good. Even though, I mean, the dough looks pretty good. I can't say anything bad about the crust, other than the fact it fell apart. It tastes good. It held up just fine. It has, I don't know if you can see it, but it has plenty of holes in it there. It's really tasty. And Wes has held up beautifully. And I think he's going to like it. So it's pretty much a success, except for that it fell apart when I put it on the griddles. When I put the second one on the griddle. I think maybe I let it sit on the peel too long, waiting to go on, and it just kind of was too soft. So I'll try it again, and I'll wait until right before I'm going to put it on the griddle, before I put it on the peel. But it really tastes good, and it was very easy to make the dough, and I will try it again. I do like the pizza dough that I made last time, which was only an hour and a half with yeast, but this really turned out pretty good. So why not give it a try? Let me know how it turned out for you. You can do this exact thing on a grill. You don't have to do it on a griddle if you don't have a griddle. But the whole purpose of this was for camping and outdoor purposes. You can do this in a iron skillet on your stove as well. So please like this and subscribe. Have a good night. Bye.